All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? And welcome to a special edition of the Mayhem Show with Mark May, co-host Lewis Perry. We are coming at you live tonight with Mr. Tom Hutchison. Awesome to have Tom on the show. Love having Tom on the show. One of the most knowledgeable guys in comics. Somebody I've learned a lot from myself. He's got a really cool Kickstarter coming up here called Camp Rad Dog. So it's going to be really cool to talk about that a little bit tonight. First thing I want to do is talk about Hellbringers, The Ties That Bind Us. We are on Kickstarter right now. Going strong, sitting at $7,200. At $7,500, we unlock our first stretch goal, which is the Mike D'Astasio pinup, which I will be showing you guys next week on the show. Guys, awesome Friday. I got out there, did some gold panning today, got some gold. Unfortunately sold my first appearance of Loki behind me back here, so we're not going to have that anymore on the show. Kind of sucks. But you got to do what you got to do in order to keep this whole thing flowing. And I got to sell my books in order to keep going and making comics. So first thing we're going to do tonight is bring on my co-host, Mr. Lewis Perry. How you doing tonight, brother?
What's going on? Hanging in there, rocking and rolling. Glad to be here as always with you.
Dude, I'm happy to have you. It's way better to have you on the show than when it's not. So tonight.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, I want to say something. Yeah. I am so happy and so proud for you. Rhode Island Comic-Con. Once again, we're going to be reunited, not once, but twice this year. Me in your neck of the woods at Colorado Springs Comic-Con, and then you coming up here to New England for Rhode Island. I am happy and proud for you. Get your commissions in now for this cat, Rhode Island Comic-Con. If you're in the New England area, start signing them up. I posted that. All the alternate reality entertainment links are posted on the Angry Geek Show page, but this cat's for sure. Get your commissions in for this cat right now.
I'm excited. I'm excited to start taking commissions again. I haven't actually done commissions now for about 3-4 months because of the
Mega Powers.
Oh, the Mega Powers, indeed, sir. I haven't done a few commissions because I've been doing this publishing thing. So it'd be nice to get that rolling, man. Well, shit, it's just been nonstop craziness is really all it's been. And somebody who knows about the nonstop craziness more than anybody is Mr. Tom Hutchison. How you doing tonight, brother?
That's an
hey, there's Tom right there.
Nonstop craziness.
Before we get started,
Tom.
Yes, there's Tom. You know what? You know what's funny, Mark? Now, we all know about how I dislike crocodiles and alligators. And what the hell happens on Loki this past week? I was like, what the hell, man? You gotta be kidding me.
We just watched it last night.
Dude,
what a coincidence. What a coincidence that
I know. The whole hand thing, I was like, oh, Jesus, son of Lord. That just, yeah.
Tom, what do you
Alexa,
think of the Loki series, my friend? What do you think of that show?
I don't watch any of that stuff.
You don't watch any of it?
Nope. None of it.
Really?
Loki probably is one that I would have some vague interest in because I do like Tom Hiddleston. The character of Loki is cool within the context of the Marvel universe. But like the Scarlet Witch thing and the whatever the other one was, the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I just don't care about those characters. They have no connection to me whatsoever, so I have no interest. I'll probably end up seeing Loki at some point because again, it's also like a time travel thing, which I like time travel stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a big time travel guy, so it's one of those things that I'll probably land and see, but it'll be like a binge. Like I just want to knock it all out. I don't like this whole like, oh, next week there's an episode. Like that's so 80s, dude.
Right.
I'm over the whole wait for an episode. I want it all in one shot. I want to just knock it out in one night. So I'll get to it eventually.
I haven't actually finished Falcon and Winter Soldier. I did finish Scarlet Witch, hoping something big was going to happen at the end, and nothing ever did. You know what I mean? So
just one of the problems that some of these things, not all of them, but a lot of it kind of fell into this little sort of formula, and it's a lot of what comics does too. Is everything is just it never really is its own thing. Everything is set up to lead to something else. Now, in some ways that's good because you always want to take people to the next part of the story. Always leave the door open. But a lot of these movies and stuff they've just left me flat where it's just like, you know what? I just don't feel like I'm getting the whole thing. Like, don't force me to watch a dozen movies to get, you know, the Guardians of the Galaxy that I want, or the Thor that I want, or whatever it happens to be. And that's what the movie universe it got so big that everything kind of just was like, hey, now you got to go here, now you got to go here, now you got to go here. I'm just like, it's like Star Wars, man. Like for Star Wars, for me, it is the movies and it is nothing else. I don't watch Clone Wars. I don't read the comic books.
Really?
It is the movies and that's it. And when you start telling me that, oh, you're missing something because you didn't watch a TV show or you didn't read a comic book, well, F you, then you made a shitty movie, because you should be putting all the information that I need as a fan in whatever it is that you're making right here. And that's one of the things that's kind of put me off to a lot of the Star Wars. I was like, well, now the answers are over here. No, I don't want your answers over there. I want the answers in this little package that you're giving me, that I'm paying $12 to sit and take 2.5 hours out of my life. I want that experience. I don't want you to then tell me, well, read the comic book and learn more. Godzilla versus Kong was the same way. They put all kinds of extra stuff like in the novel, like the book. And I'm like, yo, don't tell me to go read a book after I watched your movie. Like, your movie should be solid enough that I should be happy. And then if I want to read the book, I can go do that. But don't tell me that there's all this extra stuff in the book because, I don't know, you didn't have room for it in the movie. It drives me crazy. Make whatever it is that you're making work, and then leave a door open at the end and take it somewhere else. That's fine.
He dropped the bass on that one for sure. Tom, I got to tell you.
Yes, he did.
Clone Wars to me was a great show, but the movie was definitely lacking what it was supposed to have. You know what I mean?
I think
kind of one of the
a lot
exceptions.
of layers. Yeah, I think there's a lot of layers to Star Wars. I mean, there's a crap load of layers of Star Wars, even when it was still under Lucas's control. I don't hate the prequels as much as a lot of people do. They're not great movies. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, ooh, these are fantastic things, but I don't hate them like a lot of people do. I think a lot of the problems really came just from some acting elements. There was something that just came on not long ago. It was a fan-made, like, I don't know what you want to call it, trailer or something. And basically it was the idea of looking at Anakin as he becomes Vader and so on, and using clips directly from the movies. There's nothing that Lucas didn't produce. It's all right there. And he made whoever this fan was, made this amazing run of Anakin as the kid, all the way through Anakin as the Jedi guy, all the way through Vader, to when, Vader gets his redemption. Spoiler alert. And so that, using Lucas's stuff, was so good that it really shows you that what Lucas presented was good. But just because it was presented doesn't mean it was presented in its best possible capacity. Pacing things, weird stories. There's the urban legend that Jar Jar Binks was supposed to be the big bad guy, but since everybody hated him in the first movie, Lucas had to scramble and change episode 2 and fix things to make things come out right. So there's a lot of weirdness with the prequels in Star Wars, and it's kind of fun to dive into all the weird stuff. But for me, I've heard a lot of good things about Clone Wars. I've seen some Clone Wars episodes. There was nothing to just grab me to keep me going on it. So it's the movies. I have 9 movies. That is Star Wars to me, and I'm done.
That makes sense. Dude, and nine are enough, in my opinion.
It is. It's enough. I mean, obviously, if you're going to come in and say, that's the Skywalker story, right? You can, Star Wars is a universe. Star Wars is a million characters and a million worlds, and you can go anywhere. So if they were to come in and say, like, well, we're going to do another 9 Star Wars movies, but it's going to follow whoever it's going to follow.
You think you'd be into that?
Well, you have to make me believe that I should care. And
correct.
I don't know what that would be. Because for me, Star Wars was the Skywalkers. That's what it was. It's what it was meant to be. It's what it was supposed to be. So I don't really care about side quests and doing all this other side things. It's fun. It's fine. But for me, it's not for me. It's not for me. My Star Wars experience is basically done. I've done my 40 years time, and and we're moving on to whatever's next.
Tom, last time we had you on the show, we asked you all the basic questions. So tonight we're just going to jump into your Kickstarter. Why don't you tell us what you got going on?
Sure. So it's launching tomorrow. Tomorrow, Saturday, July 10th. It will be launching at 1 o'clock my time, which is West Coast time. It is Camp Cross. Well, it's Camp Rad Dog. This is a very unique Kickstarter thing because it's not just a Kickstarter. It's actually 2 Kickstarters. So myself, along with Jim Noble, are launching 2 Kickstarters at the same time under the banner of Camp Rad Dog. So if you go to Kickstarter and you type in Camp Rad Dog, you will actually see 2 Kickstarters jump up because they'll be running at the same time. My side of it is called Camp Crossover. His side of it is called Camp Retro. And basically, this was an idea that came up last year as we were doing live shows and stuff. We would continue to just sort of joke about different things. Some of the stuff has actually become reality. We got on to we were doing like my days. I was doing like Bikini Day and Princess Day and all these things, Goth Day and so on. And somebody said, hey, the 3rd or 4th Thursday of February is Toast Day, just really strange things. And so Jim was like, well, we should make like a killer toaster thing. And I was like, no, I'm not making a killer toaster thing, but you can. And so he did. But within all the context of all of that stuff, we kept joking about, we should make like this summer camp thing. And this, because we're both fans of Meatballs and, all these other movies. And we kept talking about it. And finally we got to January and I just messaged him like, so is this happening? Because if this is happening, we probably should start actually making it right now. And he was like, yeah, okay, let's make it happen. And so as of January, we kind of started to knock around details and what's it going to be and how's it going to work. 1 Kickstarter, 2 Kickstarters, what's it going to do? And by about March, we had it all lined up. Art started coming in and we launched tomorrow. I mean, that's how fast some of these things can really, kind of fall into place when you have the right people doing the work. So,
right.
So it's going to be 2 Kickstarters. Each one will be an individual book. He will have his book. I will have my book. There will be, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, Easter eggs or ties, that kind of go back and forth. But ultimately, each story is its own story, focusing on his characters and my characters. So it's basically summer camp parody. Think Meatballs. Think Ernest Goes to Camp. Maybe a little Friday the 13th thrown in there. That's cool. But it's just pure parody. This is not like some heavy canon story like, oh my God, somehow all the BDI characters, Dorothy came back from Oz and is hanging out with, Critter. Like it's just pure parody. It's just here for fun. It's just a summer fun thing. And that's why I was almost late, is because I was actually working on the video for this thing. And I completely lost track of time because I was using my phone. And I'm sitting here just like, images, typing text. And all of a sudden I get a message from Mark. Hey, yo, you doing this? I'm like, oh, crap. Yeah, we're doing this. Okay, let's go. So even now, I mean, this is the Kickstarter way, man. I mean, even now, hours before this thing is launching, I'm still tinkering and resetting. And do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? Is the price right? Do I have the images I want?
It came down for this Kickstarter for me that we actually had to do edits while I was still doing the show right before I was about to launch it. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And dude, I support every project that you do, no matter who it's with. I think this is going to be a great summer Kickstarter for you guys, and I really like the idea, honestly. So
it's different. It's way outside my wheelhouse. Way outside my wheelhouse. Like this is not what I do. I don't do parody. I rarely do comedy stuff. I don't feel as though I've quite got the hang of it yet to really be like, hey, I can do this. But and the only way to figure it out is to do it. So with Lights Camera Jungle, we did a little bit of that. Kind of got my feet wet with that. Doing a little bit of Princess versus Zombies gave me a little more comedy stuff. Not like knee slapping, holy shit, that's funny, comedy, but just fun, goofy stuff. And so that I kind of leaned into some of that and pulled some of those experiences into this to create this bizarre thing. And hopefully everybody kind of has fun with it and digs on it, because I think it'll be fun, if nothing else. And
it looks fun. I think that's the allure to it, is it just looks so fun. You know what I mean? Like you guys got your shirts off and hot chicks with you, and like you guys got abs and shit. Like,
well, you can. I have to thank Jason Hayes for that, because that was a joke that he did. Basically, he took the Meatballs, the movie poster, and he just started drawing me into it. And he showed it to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm just like goofing around with this thing. It's kind of funny." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's super funny." And that's going to be the cover. So go ahead and finish that, and turn these girls into these characters, and just do that, and that's our cover. And it came out unbelievably cool. I'm so happy with it. And he's doing the interiors of the book as well. He's got a really great sort of animated style that, you know, really takes the characters out of their norm, you know, because a lot of the stuff that we do for our books is much more detailed. You know, you're in these, in some cases, really dark and gritty worlds, and we're just taking all of the characters out of their boxes and putting them in a completely different play set. And so I wanted an art style that was nothing like what we generally use, and Jason was perfect for it. And he's knocking it out of the park. He's really got attention to detail. And Chris Chua is doing the colors. It's got kind of a little bit of a watercolor-esque element to it, which is cool. So again, it looks nothing like anything we've really produced before, which is also a great thing, because I always want to be like, okay, what else can we do in regards to art? And so this will be a book
I really appreciate about you, Tom. Is
this will be a book that hasn't been seen before. So yeah, it'll be fun.
You do tend to push the envelope when it comes to doing new stuff, and I really respect that about you.
I mean, I think you have to. If you're not pushing yourself, then you're cheating yourself. You're cheating your audience. You're cheating your fans. It's like, yeah, they can look at it and say like, yeah, that's cool, but at some point you have to realize that you're showing them what they've already seen, and while it may be good, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's, you know, good conceptually, it's good technically. You have to ask yourself, okay, how do we take that and now take a step forward and go back into the, you know, you don't want to call it experimental necessarily, but sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to go into different genres, you have to go into different styles, and you have to kind of see what the blend can do to kind of keep pushing your brand, your characters, your worlds forward.
Let me ask you a question. What has been like a top selling kind of, I don't want to say gimmick, but what has been like a top selling style? I mean, I don't even know how to ask this question, honestly.
Well, we don't really do, whatever you want to call it, gimmicks, right? Mm-hmm. We don't do glow in the dark. We don't do jeweled things. We don't do lenticulars. You know, that's something we might do, but we've
talked about this. I like my lenticulars. You stay away from my lenticulars.
It doesn't bother me, but I don't really see anybody clamoring for it. So I'm always kind of like, do you want these things? Is this something you actually want, or is it just like, if it's offered, we'll consider it, but we don't, you know? So I always,
so for
it's really hard to ask.
We sell the heck out of those, Tom.
Sure. Well, and again, I'm not saying otherwise, but the question is if you had made those two covers as just covers, would they have still sold?
So they are still those covers. They're still regular covers too,
right? So that's my point. So what are people actually wanting? Like, but you can't do both. That's the thing. That's an unfair. It's an unfair thing. You have to say, okay, here's a lenticular. Boom. Do you want it? And then people will say yes or no. And if they say no, you say why? Well, because we just want the art. Okay, you make the two covers. Or you make the two covers and you say, hey, we got two covers, but we could have made this a lenticular. Do you want these two pieces, or do you want the lenticular? You kind of have to force a little bit of actual reaction out of your audience to see what people are actually wanting. Because just because you offer it doesn't mean that they want it. It's there. They'll be like, oh, okay, that's there. I'll take it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'm explaining this right, but
no, you're doing great. You're doing great.
But yeah, so that's always the thing. It's like, I'm not against doing a lenticular, but I really wanted to know if my audience was really wanting them, was interested in them, or if they were the art fans and they're like, you know what, just give me both of those images, because I just want to look at the image. If I put it on my shelf or whatever, I can put them next to each other and be like, oh, I can like see the art, versus like, for those that don't know, lenticulars, like when you take a piece of art and you turn it like left and right, the image changes. So sometimes that's kind of a cool thing. But it is kind of a weird gimmicky thing that I always am concerned Like, do you guys want this really, or are you just accepting of it? And so we haven't really done a lot of that stuff. We have done metals and we've done foils. I think in both of those cases, if you work the art properly, you can produce really cool art out of that stuff that does different things. Metal covers can get really, really amazing depth if you have the right color combinations. They almost become 3D all on their own. And then holofoils, kind of the same thing. If you kind of know where to leave some of the white area and the lighter color area, then you get like this nice sort of stark character, and then like the background becomes like this rainbow effect and stuff. So the metals and the foils have been our biggest thing that people have really dug on. And we haven't really had people asking. We did do a gatefold one time, which was fun. We did one for Princesses versus Zombies.
Oh man, you did a gatefold? How do you get a gatefold cover? Where do you go to get those?
You tell your printer, I want a gatefold cover, and they say, okay. That's it. Okay. That's my experience.
All right.
Can you do this? They said, yeah, we can do that. I said, okay. And that was it. That was the entirety of that discussion. And then you just send them the art, for how many pieces that you want it to be. In our case, it was just it was a 3-piece. So you had a back cover, a front cover, and then the front cover opened up one more time. So you had a 3-piece connecting thing. But you can go bigger. I don't know what the limit is. I'm sure there's a limit based just on paper size, for the printing. But we did a 3, and people really liked that. They really liked it. I liked it. See, to me, again, it's a weird thing because you can't put the book up and see the whole piece, right? You have to take it out and open it. But I do like the fact that if you do open it, you're getting this complete image versus the lenticular, which is like, oh, I'm flashing it. Like you have to have an interaction with it, which also is a good thing because comics are not usually an interactive, thing. You're opening the pages, I'm reading, turning the pages. So if you can put it into somebody's hand, particularly like at a convention or something, and they're like, ooh, look at that, and they're like doing something with it, it's almost like a video game. It's the closest thing that a comic book can become a video game is lenticular.
It'd be really neat to have some kind of thing like on Tool's last CD where they had the little thing where you opened it and it played a video. It would be cool to have something like that maybe on a cover. I know it's super gimmicky, but it would be interesting.
I don't know what that is specifically, but I have seen some covers that have the what do they call it? Augmented reality, where you look at it through your phone or whatever, and then there's like, animations and things happening on there. So, I mean, that's kind of cool, but I don't know if that's cool because it's presented or if it's cool because people want it.
Right.
And that's always where I'm coming at. It's like, look, do you guys just want the art? We can make this real simple. Here's the cover. Here's the price. We're done. Or here's the cover. We're going to augment reality it. It's going to have more cost because of that. Like, do you care? Where does all that land? Because for me, I'm always trying to make sure that we're not raising prices to a point where people are like, oh, I really want it, but I can't get it. That's a serious drag is when we reach those points.
Let me ask you a question, Tom. Have you heard anything about maybe a paper shortage in the future for comics? And if something like that were to happen to you and you couldn't do physical copies anymore, would you just go digital?
Well, I mean, I know that there's there's multiple layers to this. I have multiple answers. So number one, supposedly wood is a problem right now because just getting wood, the prices are going up. Wood is trees, folks. And that's where our paper comes from. So, in theory, that's something that could happen. I have not heard anything that tells me that it's remotely close to happening, but there could definitely be some printing increases just because of that. I mean, if buying a 2x4 is going up in price, then buying paper,
you would expect paper
buying paper could start to go up. That is a possibility. Same with what's happening with like bags and boards right now. There's a huge shortage on bags and boards. No one has really told me what to attribute that to yet, really. But I'm sure part of it is just simply the reason that wood is even higher. So beyond that, I would say if we absolutely had to, we could probably figure out a way how to do just digital comics. But the audience for digital comics it just doesn't exist. It's not there in any capacity to make a living off of making comics. I will say that there are a lot of paper alternatives that are being ignored for a lot of things, such as using hemp and things like that. I'm sure there's probably a way to use that kind of stuff to make paper. Everything in comics is adaptation to a current market issue, problem, trend, whatever. So if we ever get to a point where it's like, yo, I'm your printer and we're going to have a big problem printing your books, then I check with other printers. I check with other countries that are printing. So there's a lot of options, I think, before all of a sudden the doors close. I mean, closing the door.
What's the biggest snag that you ever hit? I mean, you've been doing this a long time. What's
the biggest what?
Like the biggest snag you ever hit? To hold up like production or something like that.
I had a printer drop out on me once. I mean, just completely like, see ya, we're out, bye. So that sucked. But again, there's more than one printer in the world. So you just say, well, all right, I find another printer, and we move on with it. So, the guys that we have right now, we've been using for a long time. The guys that we were going to use for this particular book came recommended. They came with a very nice price point. And I was always skeptical. I'm like, all right, really? Seriously? And then it just all imploded with those guys completely. They don't even exist anymore. They're gone. So that was really our biggest problem as far as that goes. Everything else is just kind of, making sure we wrangle the cats properly to try and hit the deadlines as best we can as far as art and color and inks and, all that kind of stuff.
I feel like as a publisher, artist wrangler is definitely one of the things you can put.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Yeah. That is a legitimate resume element.
You can ask Lewis. I've actually said this on the show before that I'm an artist wrangler sometimes. That's funny, Tom.
Speaking of Lewis, Tom, I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Do you collect?
Not a lot. I'm very specific in what I do. A lot of stuff I buy is mostly older stuff. I don't buy anything modern anymore outside of indie books. I'll support Kickstarters and get indie stuff, but as far as like modern Marvel and DC, nothing.
All right, well, this is the point where I was going to. How long have you been into comics per se, and what got you into the comic book genre? What got you interested in comics? And then I'll get into my next follow-up question after you answer this.
Basically my whole life. Roughly probably got my first comic when I was about 7 or 8, something like that, late 70s. I got my first comic, which was Godzilla number 16 from Marvel Comics.
Marvel.
From there, and I didn't know what comics were, but I knew what Godzilla was, and so that's why I picked up the book. And then from there, you got advertisements inside, and it's like, oh, there's Ghost Rider, and there's whatever. And so I started to expand out, like, what's Ghost Rider, what's this, what's that, and so that kind of got me all into comics. And then, of course, you had like the Wonder Woman TV show, and the Batman TV show was on TV late 70s, so that kind of strengthened all the comic stuff, pop culture in general for me, because you'd go to the comic book store and there'd be Wonder Woman. Oh, I saw that on TV. All right, so we got into that, and that just kept going and going and going. So from that moment, it's basically been my whole life, one way or another. I've been in the comic book world, scene, whatever.
Hey, Lewis,
I can respect that because that's
before you do your follow-up question, Lewis. We're going to hit a commercial real quick. You down with that?
Yeah, I'm good, brother. Go ahead. Hey, Wolfie in the house.
Oh, and what's up, Wolfie? And also Rob Schiff. Rob's the man. I sent him a couple free comics to help out with that collection that he lost. He's a good guy. Let's see. Let's just run this real quick. We're going to do this really fast. First things first. The fallen angel, Christopher Daniels.
From California, it's the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels. Now, anyone that's followed my career knows that in addition to being a professional wrestler, I'm also a huge comic book fan. Now, usually I'm a Marvel guy, but I'm also very appreciative of the guys out there making their own comics, doing independent comics, doing it themselves. With that in mind, I want to talk to you today about Silent Mayhem Productions. They're the guys behind Hellbringers, the card game, and Hellbringers, Sacred Heart, and Dawn of the Devil. Now, the next chapter in the Hellbringers saga is coming out, and it's called called The Ties That Bind Us. And the guys behind the series, the writer Mark May, artist Ron Charles Williams, colors by Becky Fuller, letters by McLean McGuire, and the cover art and the graphic design by Russ Cassidy, these are the guys that are bringing the next chapter to life. On June 28th, they've got a Kickstarter to help fund the next chapter of Hellbringers. So go to silentmayhemproductions.com. Keep in touch, keep involved with the Kickstarter coming up. And guys, I just want to tell you best of luck with the new chapter. Keep making great comic books, and I'll see you later.
All right, guys, that was the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels for a book about fallen angels. Lewis.
Yes. All right, so Tom, I totally relate on how you got involved in this community and with comics. The same thing happened with me back in 1997. Not to date myself, but I am the oldest cat in the room right now. And yeah, Wolfie, I totally agree with the Fallen Angel, and I have to hook up with you about when I met Chris.
Yeah, how cool
my
was
next
it that he knew
follow-up
all that
thing.
about Hellbringers?
Yeah, I know it was really cool when you before I get to my question with Tom, when you first showed me that, I was like, you're gonna have Chris as a guest, because when I covered a wrestling show with him, I shot a promo on him, so I was hoping that he would remember. That would have been awesome. Him and I going back and forth, that would have been great. Old times.
We might be able to get him. We got Eric Larson next week, so we'll see what happens, guys. Never say never.
I know it would be great if I'll cut another promo on him. It would be fantastic. Anyway, back to Tom. Tom, I totally agree. Could relate, because that's exactly how I got into this community way back when. You were talking about now that you're just collecting older stuff, going back. The Gateway gatefold covers. That is the old gimmick cover of the 70s. Those were in the early 80s. That's what it was. We didn't have the lenticulars. We didn't have the gold covers. We didn't have any of those until the 90s when the market almost crashed. I have yet to see any Kickstarter, any independent books actually cater to the older crowd. Yes, we have to cater to the new crowd if we want to keep the comic book industry up, running, and going. We got to teach these new kids, these new collectors, okay, exactly what it is to collect. A lot of people are just buying books now and flipping them, putting them on eBay, flipping. But for the true collector, like myself, like Wolfie, like other people, if we cater to them and teach these new kids, like I'm doing with my kid, this to show them, how do you feel about having a Kickstarter and having your product just cater to the old school fans? Mm-hmm. Just doing, hey, this is it. You getting a gateway, a gate cover. That's all you're getting. You ain't getting nothing else. Maybe you'll get this cover or a special cover. Back in the day, that's all we had.
Sure. That's true. That's true. It's different now, Lewis.
That's all we had back in the day. No, I know. Believe me, now I am not saying get off my lawn. That's for my show. This is the Mark May show. This is the guy show. My show is to get the hell off my lawn. But what I'm saying is, are you going to be catering to the older fans? Get the old fans, get them onto your lawn, get them out of DC, get them out of Marvel, and let them read the independent stuff. Because a lot of the older fans won't read the indies. They're still stuck with Thor. They're still stuck with Wolverine, Superman, Batman, Daredevil, Spidey. They won't touch an indie book. But if we get something to appeal to them, they're going to touch the indie books.
There's nothing
because they look at the glitz, they look at the glamour, they won't touch it.
If they're stuck where they are still, there's nothing you can do to change that. There's nothing you can do to change that. All you can do is present a good product, present it to the largest possible market you can. Kickstarter is a great, just general market, because people are there for comics. I mean, if you're on Kickstarter looking in the comic section, you're there for comics, which is awesome. And guess what? There's no Marvel, there's no DC, there's no Image. There are some of the creators go in there. They do their own stuff. But again, essentially a completely independent market. So you kind of have to just say, let those guys buy their Thor book, and I'm going to focus on this market, which isn't looking for Thor and Wolverine. And that's why Kickstarter has had such a tremendous growth. And that's why creators keep coming to Kickstarter and Indiegogo and other platforms as well, because it's a market that people are coming for that product. And that's it. It's not like you're going to a Comic-Con and you're like, oh, there's 50,000 people here. Yeah, but 49,000 of them are there to see Matt Smith and David Tennant. They don't care about what you're doing. Whereas with Kickstarter, it's like, hey, I literally just clicked on the comic book button. I'm here for comics.
Correct. Bring up Rob Smith's comment right there. Rob Schiff. Did I say his name right? No, not Wolfie. We'll get to Wolfie in a minute. I'll bitch slap Wolfie in a second because I know exactly where he's coming from. Rob, I'm talking 60s and 70s, brother. We didn't have chrome covers back then. Now, I am dating myself right now with my age. Don't let the great... Oh, hold on a second. 1 second. I got something special for this if I can find it. Where is it? Oh, God. Little...
Don't let the gray hair fool you. I ain't no easy win.
So anyway, I'm talking about back then. All right, I'm not talking about the 90s. All right, that maybe to you young whippersnappers back in the days, the 90s. I'm talking 60s. Okay, Wolfie, I totally get you, brother. I understand about the Crow. Yes, that was an indie book. Once I hit the LCS, but you got to think about this, bro.
You see this?
You got to think about this. Back right there, brother. We got to think about this.
I'm just off the muscle. Go ahead, Lewis. I'll tell you in a second.
I'm saying back in the day before LCSs started springing up, popping everywhere, you only had the big two hitting your newsstands, hitting your five and dime, hitting your bookstores, okay, or your stop and shops. We didn't have independent books hitting there, so we didn't have ElfQuest. We didn't have, which is now we're talking late 70s, 80s.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, Lewis.
God,
first,
I'm sorry, I'm going on the tirade here. Yes.
Let me ask you a question, Lewis. First off, Rob, yes, I was panning for gold this morning, and I am here right now. I am dying, man. Like this sunburn is no joke right now. This is some crazy stuff. But what Lewis was saying, I got to ask you this, Lewis. How did you guys in the 60s and 70s get stuff like Dynamo Comics and stuff like that? Where,
dude.
It was the newsstands.
I started collecting
like Charlton.
Back in the day, it's newsstands.
Like that.
Back in the day, it was all newsstands.
Yeah, it was.
All that.
Dude,
kind of
I had to go to
markets.
Really,
Tom. I'm sorry for cutting you off. What I had to do was I went to my very first comic book that I've ever bought. Okay, or was bought for me, and I still remember was from Cody's Variety Store, Norwalk, Connecticut. Okay, right on Scribner Avenue, right there. Place is probably no longer there. After that, I went to Ross Variety out in East Norwalk, Connecticut. And then they were in friggin' like the Five and Dime and Woolworths and all these little stores. That's where I had to get my stuff. And then believe it or not, Mark, gas stations sold them in spinner racks.
Really?
Right there. Back in the day, comic books came up. Gas stations sold them off spinner racks. Okay. And then we had a toy store in Norwalk called Kitty Town. Spinner rack. You bought them there. So that's where we got our stuff.
Marvel and DC.
No, it was just Marvel and DC. That's all you had.
That's all you had.
And Cody Variety.
Where did you get your independent comics in the 60s and 70s then? Like Charlton?
You didn't. You did not. You didn't until Galaxy Comics opened Main Street, Norwalk, Connecticut. That opened up a brand new friggin' door. You walked in there like, holy cow. And then you had Mark Crumb. Then you had all this other stuff that just blew me away. All right. And then you saw the indie stuff. It was like a whole brand new door. That's when you saw Gold Key. Start Captain Kirk's in a comic book? No freaking way. It was just, then to see the $6 million man in the comic, boom, blew my 4-year-old, 5-year-old mind out. I mean, just blew me away. Okay. It was just, wow. There was no more just DC and Marvel on the newsstand. Okay. Because also on the newsstand, not only, now let me retract my statement. Not only did you just have Marvel and DC, you also had Bugs Bunny and Woody Woodpecker and all that crap. But who wanted that? You did not want that. At least I didn't. Okay, I wanted what I saw on TV, which is very much like Tom said.
all the Dell books were.
But see, now then again, a lot of people now they're all like, "Oh, the Super Friends." No, I'm talking the Filmation stuff, the the original Teen Titans cartoon, not the original one that all you guys think is the original one that was on the Cartoon Network. I'm talking about the original Filmation Teen Titans with Wonder Girl, Speedy, Aqualad, Kid Flash, with black hair, mind you. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I grew up on. There you go.
So all the TV.
That's what I grew up on. That's what I'm catered to. We didn't have your die cut covers back then.
All the
it was black and white.
All the TV adaptations were Dell Comics.
I'm sorry, right? Tom. I am so sorry for stealing your thunder. I just go off on a tirade at time. That's why I was sitting here quiet for a little bit. Sorry, different show.
So
I'll be quiet.
TV adaptations were Dell Comics, right?
Yes, I'm gonna be quiet now. I'm sorry.
That's all I was asking. Jesus Christ.
And I'm gonna be quiet. Just go back to. I'll save it for my time. Have at it.
Minutes,
Tom, this is your time. Talk about the Kickstarter. Dude, you just have my promo, all right?
Yes,
Tower Power to tweet to me sour. Fuck you like a monkey. Dude, I am like done, man. It's time to rattle some bones, you know? I'm like, wow. Whew. Freak out.
Are you ready? Are you ready for a wrestling match?
No, we're wasting Tom's time. We got to talk about his Kickstarter. We got to get launching tomorrow.
I'm trying, Lewis.
Yeah, Tom is napping because I'm like going on a tie right here. Come on, let's go.
All right, guys,
I'll be quiet. I'm done.
To the show. Tom, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the Kickstarter?
Well, you got most of the details. The one thing that we're doing that is kind of unique is on the second week, because while this is a crossover, it's not like a true crossover. It's not like our worlds are blending, right? But in the spirit of the Meatballs movie, where they had the Camp Olympics, where they had the basketball stuff, and they were doing all kinds of running and whatever, the Camp Olympics. So we're doing a Camp Olympics between the two campaigns. So on week 2, we're going to have Monday through Friday, we'll have an add-on every single day that will be basically an event. So like biking, for example, right? So Keith Garvey did a set of covers for 2 of our characters bike racing, and they'll be standalone covers, and you'll be able to get each one on each campaign. But if you get them both, it'll be, a connecting puzzle cover. So we'll be doing that on week 2, which should be pretty fun. And then the other addition to that is if you're buying both covers, you're also going to get a bonus patch. So in that case, it's a biking patch. All the patches were designed by David Faught. So there's biking, there's swimming, there's archery, there's running, and there's more. So if you buy both covers, you're automatically going to get. It's not really a stretch goal, which is where you reach a certain number in the campaign and you get a bonus thing. This is just automatic. If you go to Jim's campaign, you go to my campaign, you buy both the books, you're going to get that patch thrown into your rewards pack as a bonus too. So that'll be fun. So that's kind of the true crossover element is those covers. But each campaign that you do, you're not, like we just talked about, right? You're not required to buy one, both to get the story. Each one is its own story. So you can just decide whichever one you want to do. You want to do Camp Rad Dog, do it. Or Camp Crossover, do it. You want to do Camp Retro, do it. You're not required to buy both in order to get the full story. So,
how many days is the KS going for?
Playing by our own rules. It's a straight 3 weeks. So we start tomorrow, and then we end on the 31st. So it is 3 weeks on the dot.
That's the way to do it, in my opinion, man. The shorter, the better. I screwed up with Ties That Bind Us going 30 days because I feel like, anything can happen in that last 20 days. You just don't want to lose people, but you also want to gain people too. And I'm hoping we can get some backers in this last 19 days. Tom?
Well, the thing with the shorter time, there's pluses and minuses. I mean, obviously, the longer you go, the more opportunity you have for people to find you. I mean, that's just the reality. But the shorter you go, the more momentum you can pick up and roll with. The campaigns are already long as it is. If you go 4 weeks for the campaign, then it's 2 weeks for the Kickstarter just to finalize it. So you're already at 6 weeks. Then you're going to have to do a couple of weeks of surveys, at least 2 weeks, if not a month, to give people to do their surveys. You're looking at 2 to 3 months just of basic work to put the book out, and then you got to put the book out. So the shorter you do it, the more sort of momentum you can build. It's a faster thing. People are like, oh, I'm in, I got my books, okay, we're done, we're on to surveys, oh my god, we're getting the books, oh my god. So like we just did Goth Day last month. We did a week-long Kickstarter. We're shipping the book in about 2 weeks now. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like I want to figure out a way to change the system a little bit, to kind of move a little bit faster in all aspects. The campaign itself, the survey part, the shipping part. I want to kind of speed all of that up as best I can. And this Goth Day is going to be turned around basically in 2 months. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Tom, last time me and you talked, I had asked you about how you thought I was doing as a publisher. I've done 2 Kickstarters since the last time we had that conversation. What do you think?
Have they been better, or like what have you done more backers? Have you done more money? Like what's happened?
Honestly, one was a side project, so it wasn't our Hellbringers project.
Okay.
It seemed like we were successful, which was it kind of blew my mind just a little bit. But as somebody that constantly wants to work for you, no matter how big we get or Hellbringers gets, like I'm always asking Tom, hey man, you need help on this? You know what I mean? Because I love Tom and I love his KSs. So
well, you want to just see the goal is you want to see growth every time, even if it's just a little bit of growth. Now, anytime you do, like if you're doing Hellbringers, and then you do like a side thing, every time you do something else, you're basically starting from almost zero because it's a new thing. We have that with Big Dog Inc. I could be like penny for your soul, penny for your soul, penny for your soul, Ursa Minor, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what's Ursa Minor? We have to start all over again. I'm like, yo, man, this is 10 years old. You know what this is, but the reality is you have to kind of start all over and build that audience on its own. So you can't really compare one project to another because they're just going to have completely different audiences. That's just the reality of it. But if you're doing one series and you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, as long as you're seeing a little bit of growth every time, then that's it. That's what you're doing. That's doing it right.
Well, we're getting a little growth, and
that's it.
we got a cool story, and we got some really cool artists and a great letterer working with us, and I'm really, dude, I got to tell you, it's the most fun I've ever had, and I'm really.
Well, that's also important. I mean, because that carries through the work. It carries through the work. It carries through your presentation, like when you're doing videos like this and so on. If you and the team are like having a good time and people are like, hey, look at these guys, they're having a good time making comics, that's contagious and people get into it. They're like, oh, I want to check out this book because these guys are all having a good time doing it. And then if you have the fans on the back end that are getting their product and then they're excited about the product, which, fingers crossed, you always want them to, like what they get. That's the next step of the puzzle, which is, hey, I backed this thing. I've never heard of it. The creators are cool. I got the book. The book is cool. I want the next one. That's the chain of events that you want every time to the best of your ability.
Let me ask you one more question before we go to Lewis for his promo. I'm
not even prepared.
You got to get prepared, sir. Get prepared. You got 2 minutes. When it comes to building your audience, have you noticed that the same people stick around with you for like the last 10 years that you've always had, and you just keep building new people? Or is it like a clique of fans or something like that maybe follow projects based on certain artists, based on
absolutely that happens.
Projects?
Yeah. For me, it's a big mishmash because I've been doing this for 11 years. I have people that have been with me since the beginning. They're still with me. But then when we went to Aspen, we lost a lot of people because they literally thought we went out of business. They didn't understand that we went to Aspen to be bigger. Published. And people were like, well, I guess Big Dog's gone. They're out of here. And then through Aspen, we found more people. All kinds of people found us through Aspen that didn't know that we even existed previously. And then when we left Aspen, we were basically rebuilding again, because now we're going back into Kickstarter. Now we're doing this. At that same time, a few years later, we were started doing all the live shows, started building another audience. So through all of those channels, even now, I am finding people who are now finding us from the 10 years ago time, where they're like, oh my God, I didn't know you guys were still around. I'm so glad I found you. I just did your last Kickstarter or whatever. So it's all there. And then the next step is, like you talked about, the artist following. 100%. Like, I know there are people who back my books only when I have a specific cover artist, and never ever another time. It's just a factual thing. They only focus on that one artist, and that's all they want. And that's fine. If that's all you want, come get it. I've got it for you. But that's a very real thing in comics in general, but specifically for Kickstarters as well.
I got one more question for you for tonight, and we're going to end with this one. Has there ever been a time in your career where you have been down? Like, you felt like, I don't know, like just bad, like burnout, I guess.
Oh, of course. It's 11 years, dude. I mean, I can probably count at least 5 times that I've just been like, dude, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. A lot of that, though, was early because there was so much freaking travel for me. I mean, we were doing like 20 shows a year. This is like, oh my God. You got down to like November, December, January, and things kind of shut down because a lot of shows were, spring and summer. It's like, oh my God, we get to breathe for a few months. And then, just like that, here comes C2E2. And, we have a freaking island that we have to go build, and 8 artists are coming to the house, and chaos builds all over again. So I'm a lot happier now that I'm doing fewer shows, conventions, because the travel is just harsh. It's just a brutal. It's like not that we're rock stars, but it's like the people that tour as rock stars, right? They're on the bus all the time.
Lifestyle.
They're going in, they're setting up, they're breaking down, they're not at home. It's just chaos all the time. And
I did 16 shows one year, and that's more than I'll ever do again. You know what I mean? Like pre or after COVID, it just seems like, with Kickstarter, like, I mean, you want to make it special for people when they see you, so you get a little choosy. You know what I mean, on the shows that you do. And I don't have time to do a lot of these commissions. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to build inventory for my first show at the end of this month when it comes to trying to sell art. You know what I mean? Because all my art is gone.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I still have the pinup that I did for you, though, which I can't believe. I still have that. I thought somebody would have got that in a heartbeat. But Tom, it has been absolutely incredible to have you on tonight. I love it when you come on here, man. You are a beacon of information, especially for guys like me. And you've helped me out a lot in my career, just from, the time that you published me, give me a pinup, to, always helping out if I ever have a question. I really appreciate you. And if I can ever help you again, I will do what I can. And it would be awesome to see a Silent Mayhem Productions and Big Dog Inc. crossover in the future. That would be really, really cool.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having us on the show. I like just keep being consistent. That's what I can tell you. Just keep doing what you're doing, because it's working. It doesn't happen overnight. That goes to anybody. Don't expect for anything to just flip a switch and suddenly you're making, $50,000 on a Kickstarter. It simply doesn't work that way. Everything is work and time and effort and building. And if you want to do it, you have to do it like Mark and just keep being consistent at it and growing it a little bit at a time. And that's how you build it.
Well, I really appreciate it, man. I really, really do. You're in for a treat here, Tom.
All right. Are you ready? Tom, this is for you. True collectors are easy to love, but they're harder to hold. They rather have key issues than comic book covers of foil and gold. There you go.
Oh my God, Louis, that was great. I love it when you do promos on the show, Louis. It's probably the funniest shit I've ever seen in my whole life. Don't mind me. I'm so happy that you're on the show tonight, Louis.
You are a numbskull. How was that promo? That was on the spot.
That was actually really, really good, dude. That was really, really good. I felt kind of bad bringing Gator in afterwards, honestly.
That was quick. And I was going to throw on the robe. Hey, can I debut the robe? Because I did cut a video, but
show me the robe.
The robe. It was too much glare. It was too much glare. All right, now the video.
Last commercial. Go get the robe.
Play the last commercial. I'm gonna go get the robe.
She seeks her husband, the devil.
What the hell happened? Where did he go?
What do you mean? What the hell happened? That was the end of the show, folks.
It just died.
Show the robe, Lewis. Show the robe.
I got the robe. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, the headphones are tied in. Yeah, but now I cut a video for the Faces and Heels podcast, and all the rhinestones were shooting off all over the Geek Layer, and I had to scrap the video.
Really?
Because I had too much feedback.
This is so right. Jeez, man.
Dude.
Guys, it's been amazing to have you both here tonight. I love you, Tom. I love you, Lewis. I hope you both have a great weekend. Tom, I really hope you kill it on your Kickstarter, brother. You do great every time. Lewis, I will be seeing you here at a couple conventions real soon.
Yes,
guys,
sir.
There's only one more thing to do tonight.
Tom, it was nice meeting you. I hope I wasn't too rambunctious.
No, you're good.
What?
What?
What?